Hello everyone. Today we're going to be looking at this position. It is white to move anywhere, so you can pause the video and think before we dive into this. Alright, so from looking at this position you can see that we have a pawn on d6 and we have the rook, and while black has this knight on g8 and the pawn on d7. We try to promote this pawn, but there's a problem. This pawn on d7, it is the problem. So the solution here, you might find it, there's only one way to get the win here, is to play like something like rook h7, try to target the pawn. But here black is going to play king a6, defending and also attacking. You might play a rook g7, attacking the knight, but then the knight will go here. Then you're going to try to pin the knight, so black cannot really capture this pawn. But then like a move like king e5, moving the knight here, he's going to try to win the pawn, and that will result in a draw. And of course, playing a passive move like rook d5 just to try to protect the pawn and try to activate the king will not work. The knight will keep giving you checks. So it's not about going after the pawns. So what about checks? Well, this check makes no sense. What about this check? Makes no sense. So no checks. What about captures? We have nothing to capture. Okay, what about attacks? Attacks, we need to attack something. We've seen that the rook to h7 attacking the pawn will not work because of king to e6. Let's see what happens if we played we try to attack this knight. Attacking the knight with a move like rook g5 doesn't really work because he can play knight h6, so he has space to move around and give check and win the pawn. But rook to h8, as you can see, the knight cannot go here, that's a free knight. Cannot go here because that's a free knight as well. So black has to protect the knight with the king. So this move is really good. It attacks the rook, also defends the knight. Now what would you play in this position? Okay, some of you might say, well, we tried to win the knight, but he defended it. Now let's just go back. Well, if you went back, this is a draw. This is not it's no longer winning. Some of you might say, well, we capture the knight. That's a great move, right? No, but after black takes, he plays something like king g5, he plays king g7, and he's stopping you from getting in. You will never get to this pawn on d7. That's also a draw. So what is the move? We don't capture, we don't go back. What do? Well, we leave the rook to die. We play king to g5. Okay, so after king to g5, what's going to happen? Black is going to play this move, king takes rook, and then he's going to play king g6. King g6 stops the black king from moving. This pawn cannot move, so only the knight can move. The knight cannot go here, that's a free knight, and then we promote and win the game. Black here might play knight f6, but that's a free knight, and then we go here, we win the pawn, we go there and promote and win. And knight h6, we just take it. And if black thinks that he doesn't have the time to go there and defend, he doesn't, because at the end of the day, we're going to play like king f7, king e7, kick the king away, take the pawn, move away, and promote and win the game. That's really cool. Right. So after the move king to g5, most likely black should not be taking this rook. So the knight cannot be developed. That's a free knight. Cannot go here. Also, that's a free knight. So the only move is knight to f6. Defending this pawn on d7. Right, now what? Well, now we play this move rook to d8. We are attacking this pawn on d7. So if the knight moves, we're going to win the pawn. Now, the king cannot move. Black has two legal moves with the kings. Like, for example, king h7 has a free knight. King f7, pause the video and see what is wrong with this move. How can you make the most use of this move? King to f7. Well, we play rook to f8, sacrificing the rook. If black moves, that's a free knight, so black has to take. We take back, and we reach the exact same position that I showed you before. That he has to go there, and we're going to keep getting the king close until we manage to win the pawn and promote and win. So that means in this specific position, black cannot move the king. Only the knight can move. Okay, so what can black do here? So most likely black has to play some checks, because if he played like knight d5 or something, he's going to blunder the pawn, we're going to move away, we're going to promote and win the game. So black has to give us checks. Let's see first what happens if he plays knight to e4 check. That's a fork, attacking our king and also this pawn on d6. We don't go here because we will be blundering the pawn with a check. Instead we play king f4, attacking the knight. Now if the knight takes, you might say, well, this is obviously a draw. No, it is not. Because after rook takes d7 check, the knight is hanging. So the knight goes back. Now the knight is pinned, which gives us time to play king to f5, getting the king close. Black cannot really move the knight, still pinned, and cannot really move away because we'll be plundering the knight. So either king g7, sorry, king g8 or king f8. King g8, we just play the move king f6, targeting this knight twice. And we're also, if the knight moved anywhere else, for example here, this would be checkmate in one. No, not checkmate in one. Like first of all, king to g6, then this would be checkmate in one. Or he has to give up the knight. Like for example, king f8, king takes h6, and this is winning for white, obviously. All right, so that's why after this check and after king to f4, black cannot capture this pawn on d6. Okay, what if he played something like he just went back with the knight, trying to protect this pawn? Now we play this move king to f5, and again the king cannot go here. We will sacrifice and win the knight. Black cannot go here. That's a free knight, and he does not have any checks. So black will be forced to move the knight somewhere, and like for example, like I don't know, like here, but that's still bad because still a check, and we will win the pawn. All right. After king to f4, he's not going to go back. He might play knight to c5, and the idea of knight to c5 is trying to protect this pawn on d7. Now we play king to e5. You're like, what is the point of king to e5? The point is that this pawn is attacked, and now we have to remove the defender of this pawn so that we win the pawn, we move the rook, we win the game. So we have to play this move, king to e5, king to d5, king here, to try to win the knight. He plays knight d3 check. We can play king d4, targeting the knight. The knight would move somewhere. Knight b4, right? Trying to win this with a fork. That's a good move. But then we just capture this this pawn with a check. Black will move somewhere, and then we try to get the king close, and you get the point. Now this is pretty much winning. We can just play a move like rook b7, target the knight, try to push this pawn, and get the king close. For example, like knight c6 makes sense. Then we play a move like king d5, targeting the knight again. Then I would have to go back, targeting our rook. We play a move like rook e7. Now, what is the idea of rook e7? The idea that we want to push this pawn and promote, but we don't want the king to get close to stop the pawn. Therefore, this move is a really good move. It restricts the king from ever accessing the d8 square, which is the promotion square that we need. Therefore, after the move rook to d8, black does not really have this or anything else. What about this move knight to h7 check? Because these are the two most forcing moves. Checks. Now what is the best move? We play just king to f5. Okay, after king to f5, he cannot go here. Why he cannot go to f8 to try to protect the pawn? Again, because we can sack the rook, and after king takes, we reach the same position that I showed you before, where he has to go away and we win the pawn. So black plays knight to f6, still defending the pawn. Now this is getting a little bit tricky. How can we do this? Well, now in this position we play like rook a8, rook b8, all the same thing. We play like rook b8. Now, again, the king cannot move. The knight has to move, and the knight might go here to d5. If we try to go here, he's going to try to repeat moves. We don't do that. Here we can play a move like, I mean, king e4 makes sense. King e5, what about king e5? King e5, he can just try to not go back. And then we'll repeat the same move, but then I guess the way here is to play like a move like rook b7, targeting the pawn. You might play a check, but that's going to be bad. Why this is going to be bad? Because after this check, we're going to play a move like king e4, targeting the knight. If the knight try to move like, it doesn't really matter where, like this move trying to win this pawn, it doesn't work because it takes with the check. And you get the point. The idea behind this is just to waste time. This move is called wasting time. Just to try to get the knight away from defense of the pawn, get the king a little bit more active, and then try to win this pawn on d7 and win the game. Thank you for watching.